Hi, Dike Drummond here, and welcome to the first video on our Entrepreneur Success Brain Training series. In this video, you're going to learn how our brain is actually hardwired and constructed from the start to get in our way whenever we try and take on new actions in our business. And in order to see how that is, let me give you a short course in Neuroanatomy. Neuroanatomy is the study of the structure of the brain. Actually, the study of the structure of brains in general. And let's talk a little bit about lizards and mammals and humans because our brains are very, very similar down in their core. If you look at the top of the spinal cord in a lizard, there's a bump that's called the brainstem. And some people call that the reptile brain because this is the only brain a lizard has. Lizard, snake, gecko. And when you look at mammals, they have a second layer of brain called the mammalian brain or midbrain that lays over the brainstem. And in humans, we've got a brainstem, a midbrain, and then on top of that, we've got those two big cerebral hemispheres, the cortex, that looks like brain coral. That's why they call it brain coral. However, lurking deep down in the bottom of our brain is a brainstem just like a lizard. Why is that important? Let me show you. You see, the brainstem is a reflex organ. It doesn't have a cortex over the top of it in a lizard, so it doesn't think. And all of our sensory organs feed into the brainstem first. So vision, taste, smell, hearing, touch, all of it enters the brainstem first before it goes up to the places where we're actually thinking. And the brainstem has a single, simple reflex program. And that's protection. See, your brain doesn't want you to go out and be adventurous and put yourself in potentially dangerous circumstances. It wants you to stay warm and happy and make lots of babies, just like lizards and snakes. Well, what does that mean to us as entrepreneurs? It's a challenge because remember, we're not employees. We're not doing the safe thing. We're not following instructions, memorizing and recalling things. We're not employees. We're our own boss, and we're always doing new things. So how does our brainstem and a lizard's brainstem, how do they get in our way? How are they similar? Let me show you. See, as human beings, our brainstem is programmed in the same way as a lizard's. It's to avoid fear. However, here's our human definition of fear. And I think you'll find this useful as you look at your workday. Fear is the anticipation of future pain, the anticipation of future discomfort. So you can see that the very nature of the definition of fear means that it isn't really real in most cases. It's anticipating something that might happen that might be uncomfortable. And doesn't that definition apply to every single time we, as an entrepreneur, are contemplating doing something we've not done before? Putting into action a new marketing plan, creating a new product and wondering if it's going to fly, building a new joint venture relationship, all new actions, all uncertain. Fear comes up, there's our brainstem. And in the brainstem, every new action is like being in a dark alley in a strange city at night when you know it's dangerous. You're on edge, you're waiting for bad things to happen. That state in us I call reactive survival mode. And because we have to take new actions to be successful in our business, we must understand how to minimize the chance that we'll drop into reactive survival mode during the course of our workday. Because when you're in reactive survival mode, it's impossible to be creative. It's impossible to be passionate about what you're doing, to be engaging, to enroll a client or a customer in the benefits of what you could provide to them. You're focused internally. Fight or flight is some of the things that happen. You can get angry, you can avoid things, you can begin to blame other people, complain. You can medicate yourself with drugs and alcohol to avoid these things that make you uncomfortable. But none of those things work in your business. So let me give you 4 tools that you can use to minimize reactive survival mode in your business. Here's the first one. Tool number 1 is to overwhelm the anticipation of future discomfort with anticipation of future pleasure. As you know, all living organisms move away from pain and towards pleasure, But the challenge is your brainstem is hardwired to avoid pain, and avoiding pain is the #1 priority. You have to really put in a lot of pleasure to override the avoidance of pain. Here's the best way I know to do it as an entrepreneur, and that's to be really, really clear and giving yourself a daily reminder of your mission and your vision. Your mission is why you do what you do. It's what excites you, gets you out of bed, puts a spring in your step. Let me give you an example of my mission. My mission is to empower entrepreneurs to live the life of their dreams. And that includes a business that supports that same life. So when my clients say to me, Dike, I'm living the life of my dreams, there is absolutely nothing they could say to me that is more pleasurable and fulfilling than that. What's your mission? How do you remind yourself of your mission every day? Does it excite you? Does it get you going? Secondly is your vision. And your vision is that very, very detailed plan of your ideal life. What does your business look like? What is the financial performance? Where are you in your community in terms of reputation? What's your health and wellness like? This is the vision of your ideal life, and it includes a business that supports that life. Do you have a vision? Is it written down? Otherwise, you don't know what's at the end of this entrepreneurial journey. You don't know where you're going. And if you don't know where you're going, it's really easy to get scared along the way. When you're clear on your vision and it's attractive enough to pull you forward, it can overwhelm that brainstem programming and keep you in the moment, taking the actions you need to take to get there. Here's tip number 2. Tactic number 2 has to do with the concept of gradient. And in this case, we're talking about staying in the learning zone. So you've heard we all live in a box, right? It's our comfort zone. And that box contains everything we are, everything we know, everything we do, everything we have right now. If we want something other than what we have, like a more successful business, we have to step out of the box and take new actions. Just don't step out too far. Just outside the comfort zone is what they call the learning zone, where your step is big enough that you can stay engaged, not get scared, right? You've got some tools to use that can work in this new situation and not a lot is at risk. But if you take too big a step, you fall into what the MBA programs call the panic zone. So tip number 2 is keep yourself in the learning zone and out of the panic zone as you're taking new actions. Bite off just enough that you can actually chew and swallow it. Make sense? Keep that in mind when you're doing new things. And this is closely related to tip number 3. Tip number 3 is all about what do you do when you have a goal that's really far away from where you are right now. There's a huge gap and uncertainty enters into your mind and your brainstem gets activated. Well, remember the old saying, because it holds true in business too. How do you eat an elephant? Yeah, you know this one. One bite at a time. Right, so rather than focusing on the gap, focus on the next step to get there. The next step is very unlikely to be in the learning zone. But if you allow your attention to focus on the gap, it's really easy to activate your brainstem and go into reactive survival mode. So, no matter how far away your goals are, focus on the next step and get it done. Remember, I'm all about implementation. You can't get anywhere until you take the next step, so that's where to put your focus. And here's the last tip. The last tip is to over-engineer your implementation plans. Let's talk about the word engineer. If I'm an engineer and I'm building a house, what I'm going to do is design the house so that the walls can support the roof, right? Wrong. I'm going to design the house so that walls can support 2 or 3 times the weight of the roof. What if it snows 3 feet? You build in tolerances. You over-engineer things. But we never do that in our business, and that leads to a problem. Let me tell you what I mean. Let's say you set a goal to double your sales, and the number is $200,000 in the next quarter. And you create a single action plan that hits that $200,000 mark. It's a single action plan, and it's focused on your goal. What I'm going to tell you is don't try to achieve your goals. Overachieve them, over-engineer them. Because on this single action plan to your goal, if you miss any one of the steps, the goal is in danger. You might not reach it. Bam! Brainstem activated. You lose your creativity. You get scared, you shut down. It's really hard to sell people things if you're in reactive survival mode. So here's what I say: over-engineer that implementation plan. Take your goal of $200,000, double it to $400,000, and then create 3 different action plans, any one of which you execute on would produce the $400,000 that is double your goal. That shuts your brainstem down because it becomes a no-brainer. When I show you 3 ways you could hit double your goal, and then we implement them simultaneously, you know you're going to hit it even if you miss on over 50% of your action steps. It becomes a no-brainer, shuts the brainstem down. You can be in action confident of the result. So over-engineer your implementation plans. So here's a quick recap. I've shown you how your brainstem is wired like a reptile to keep you in your comfort zone. I've shown you why anytime that you think about taking a new action in your business, fear, the anticipation of future pain, will tend to bring up reactive survival mode and slow you down. I've also shown you 4 ways to get around it, using your mission and vision to create a pleasurable future that pulls you forward, to stay in the learning zone, to eat an elephant 1 bite at a time, and over-engineer your action plans so getting your results is a no-brainer. That's it for today. In about 3 days, I'll send you an email with the next video link, or if you want, right down here below, you can go to the next video right now. And in that one, we're going to discuss the cerebral cortex. What's so great about having this great big brain inside of our head? What does our brain really do super well? And how can we use our brain as a tool to drive creativity and to drive sales and to drive the profitable growth of our business? What's our brain good for? That's what we'll learn next time. Dike Drummond, businessdevelopmentvideos.com, and here's to your success.